James, now that you guys are kind of this far into it, with the kind of the finality of defensive end, have you guys made any personnel moves to kind of move guys there, or is it something where Kevin Givens could take on a bigger role there?
No, it really hasn't changed, guys. We have known about most of these situations for a long time. You guys are just finding out, but we've known about these situations for a good amount of time. This was the point that they were comfortable coming out publicly.
James, where are you guys at this point of practice? A week or so out from the opener. Are you where you think you need to be?
Yeah, I feel good about where we're at. I mean, obviously, we got to get into the game-specific plans for App State. As you guys know, one of the greatest upsets in college football history. You look at how they played Georgia. You look at how they played. A number of opponents like this. Tennessee. I think they took Tennessee to overtime. So we're about to flip the switch here and start focusing on them. But I think we've had a really good camp. Very typical what we've done the last couple of years, but we did make some adjustments based on sports science feedback and things like that. So I like where we're at. I think we've solved some questions at the kicker position. I think we've solved some questions at safety. I think we've solved some questions at D-tackle and linebacker. But you still never know until you get in there, in Beaver Stadium and play a game. And with us in college football not having preseason games, it's all based on practice. So we'll see. And I think you guys know we're going to be dependent on a decent amount of young players. So that's always challenging.
You mentioned a couple weeks ago that Jonathan Holland had gained some separation at tight end. Has he sustained that? And where do things stand at the position?
Really, Dalton's had a great camp. Dalton, from the beginning of camp to the end, has really come in with a blue collar mentality and just kind of keeps chipping away at it. But no, I don't know if we're ready to kind of decide that right now. I think Bowers has done some really good things. Holland has done some really good things. Dalton, has probably had the most consistent camp. And then Freiermuth's a guy that at this point looks like he's going to factor in. So we'll see. But we talked about it actually this morning, and I don't know if we're at a point where we kind of have the answer there yet. I think it's probably going to be, the answer is probably going to be a combination.
Have you decided on a kicker yet? Do you know who the field goal guy is yet? Or is that...
No, we haven't made any decisions. As you guys know, we'll put out a depth chart when we've made any decisions, and probably won't release that in this type of setting. We'll release it when we release the depth chart.
Have you seen the 07 game? Are you going to show that to the kids at all?
No, we won't show it to them, but I will talk about it with them. I'll talk about all the games that I just mentioned. This is a team that's played really well on the road. I know that was a long time ago in a previous staff, but even here recently, they've done a good job. They're very athletic. We've actually obviously did a study on them this summer, and then we've already started this week as well. They're very athletic. They're a little bit undersized, but they're a twitchy defense. They've gotten some really good transfers in as well. It should be a really good challenge for us. But obviously, when you're able to go to Tennessee and take them to overtime, and you look at the Georgia game, I think if you look at the final score, it's deceiving. So I think more than anything, we want to make sure that our guys respect every opponent we play, and I think those are stories that we'll be able to tell them, not show them, but stories that we'll be able to tell them to kind of illustrate what we're talking about.
James, would you be in favor of having like a scrimmage, like a different team come in and scrimmage, not having a preseason game, not seeing any sort of live action? Is that something that you would, consider ever?
Yeah, I don't think it's really worth discussing. I get the question. I mean, I always thought a probably cool model would be for you to be able to play some of your in-state schools. Play Villanova in a controlled scrimmage or something like that. But we already have enough challenges with the amount of games that we're playing. I mean, you think about it. We've been at 85 scholarships for a long time, and I'm not a proponent of changing that. I'm just saying we're at 85 scholarships for a long time, and the model's gone from 10 to 11 to 12, and now with not just a bowl game but playoffs. I don't see how you're able to add a preseason game as well. But like a preseason practice or something like some NFL organizations do. I'm not sure how that would work out, but But I know college coaches would probably love to do it.
James, you've been high on Sean Clifford since he first came here. How has he grown in the last year, and what have you seen from him, the last week or two as maybe he's able to get more reps?
Yeah, I think he's had a really good offseason. He's extremely competitive. It's pretty interesting, talking with Tommy Stevens. It's funny, perspective is powerful. Tommy, very similar to him 3 years ago, and trying to make corrections, and Clifford believes in himself so much that say we're doing a situation like 2-minute drill, and he believes in his athletic ability and his pocket movement, that he thinks he can extend the play in 2 minutes, and that's not necessarily the right scenario. And that's the same deal 3 years ago with Tommy, and now Tommy's sitting back there saying, I get it now. But he's extremely competitive. We talked about him really working on his movement skills and his athletic ability. He's really competed. Morning workouts, he'd be right there with Trace in all the stations, and he's playing with a lot of confidence right now. He's got tremendous arm talent. I think he's got a really good feel for the game, and his mobility has improved dramatically. So I like where we're at right now. I think we got 3 quarterbacks that we're really excited about.
You have to drill ball security regardless, but Saquon never really fumbled it. I think he had 3 fumbles last year as a team, the fewest in the last 10 years. When that's such not a part of the equation of how a game goes, do you almost have to reinforce it with new guys that this is something that you have to work on, this is something that you have to remember that is a part of the game?
Yeah, but I would hope that that's a part of and a function of how we practice and how we emphasize it all the time. I mean, I've been doing this for 23 years, and I was never a part of a program anywhere that took a 5-minute segment and did ball security every single day. Coaches will emphasize it in their individual, or they may do it once or twice a week, but we do it every single day. So, I kind of look at that as a credit of how we do it and how we emphasize it. And we need to continue to play like that. We need to protect the ball on offense and create turnovers on defense. We need to create explosive plays on offense and eliminate explosive plays on defense. All the things you guys hear me talk about week in and week out. But that's fundamental football. That's fundamentals. That's techniques. That's all the things that over the long term, there's certain players that are going to allow you to spike, or there's certain schemes that will allow you to maybe spike. But consistently, it's going to be about fundamentals and techniques and those types of things.
James, do you see any?
Matt Lineberger praised on the detailed towards Tony. What have you seen out of him this fall?
I think we're really strong at the defensive end position in general. I mean, Etor, I thought, had a really good true freshman year, and now he's had, a year to be in the weight room, and now it's like, body by each. I mean, he's bigger, he's stronger, he's more explosive, he's more confident, in the schemes that we do. I think he's a special talent. I really do. I think between him and Sharif, I think, and really the other guys as well, I think we got one of the better defensive end units that I've been around right now.
James, do you see any difference between John Reed today and John Reed before he was injured?
Yeah, I think, it's like a lot of our players. I mean, John was playing at a really high level. And has always been an unbelievable student of the game, and probably came in more mature than most freshmen. But like any of those guys, he's even further ahead, just based on another year in the program. But I do think, when you go through injuries like that, I think it puts things in perspective as well, and you have to overcome adversity and those types of things. So I think he's probably grown more than a normal year because of the adversity that he's had to overcome. But John's been one of the most respected guys in our program, really, from his freshman year, and he just continues to build on that.
Trace seems tremendously confident. How does that resonate with the rest of your team, the offensive huddle, and just in the locker room when you have a quarterback like that?
Yeah, I think whenever you have a quarterback, that's won as many games as he has. And comes out with the same mentality every single day, and leadership and those types of things, and preparation. I think everybody feeds off of that. I think, last year, the Iowa game, Trace McSorley steps into the huddle. I think there's instant respect, and there's instant confidence and instant credibility. you know, and really he's been that way, you know, for a long time. But every year it just continues to build and grow. So, you know, I think we got a lot of guys, as you guys know, that need to step up on both offense and defense with the amount of personnel changes that we've had. But whenever you have that guy on your team and specifically your offense, I think you got a shot.
What were your impressions of, I think you guys scrimmaged on Sunday. I know you said sometimes when guys get in the stadium it's a little bit different. Guys who maybe impressed you in that setup?
Yeah, I wouldn't say any specific guys that jump out, but I think, you know, we have made, we've been very kind of intentional in our planning about make sure we practice enough at night, make sure we practice enough in the stadium, so that we don't have so many guys that get in there and are kind of wide-eyed. So I think that's helped. You know, we're getting in there one more time. And then we're also talking about adding, that our kickers once a week, our kickers, punters, and snappers will go in there, and we haven't done that in the past, have them go in throughout the season. When I was at Vanderbilt, we always did that. When I was at Maryland, we always did that. It was a little bit more convenient with where the practice field was set up in the stadium, but I think it's something that's important. I wouldn't say anybody really necessarily jumped out or stepped up at that situation, but I just think the more times that we can go in there and those guys can get comfortable in that setting. I also don't want to go in there too much because I want going into Beaver Stadium to be a special experience for us, but I think we've kind of found that nice, happy medium between the two, and I think that's going to allow us to start stronger, early in the season.
Thanks, Coach. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Oh.